We're so thankful you joined us this week on Retiring Well. We've got 4 great topics mapped out for you that we think you're going to enjoy. Starting off the show, we're going to be talking about financial planning tips when you turn age 50. So what are some common things by that age you should be looking at or maybe thinking of adjusting as you're maybe rounding out your great career at that point? Then, how do you correct a Social Security earnings record? You're reviewing your statement, you come across a discrepancy there. How can you correct that to make sure you're getting the right Social Security amount later in life? Then, what are some spooky retirement mistakes? As Halloween's fast approaching here, Virgil's going to dive into some interesting and fun spooky retirement mistakes you're not going to want to miss. And to wrap up the show, we're going to go back to that presidential election that's coming around the corner here and look at the various tax policies or proposals that each candidate has on the table and how they may affect you differently. All of this and so much more coming up right here on Retiring Well.
Retiring Well, brought to you by Centennial Wealth Advisory, financial advisors specializing in retirement planning and serving all of Northern Michigan. Retiring Well, helping you plan for a successful and comfortable retirement. Retiring Well, plan to retire well.
Hey, welcome to this segment on 3 financial planning things you should do when you turn 50. As I was thinking about this, I was thinking of the medical world. And in the medical world, they give everybody basically a task to go get a medical scan checkup in, around age 50. Sometimes they're saying it might be age 45 to go get this done. Sometimes they say 50. But you need to go get a checkup. You need to go get this stuff figured out. And so it's not maybe ideal or something that you look forward to. And I see the same kind of overlap with people in their finances. They get a fear of what they don't know. They get a fear of being vulnerable, with financial advisors and such. And so they just avoid it. But if you're turning 50 and you haven't done some of these things I'm about to explain, then it's time. And we're here and we love to help. We love to teach, and we don't sell. We just say, look, here are your options. Here's your situation. And here's what we might think a good solution could be for you. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is take a deep dive into the details of your plan. Your plan should consist of 5 pieces. You should have an income and spending plan. You should have a savings and risk plan. You should have a tax optimization plan. You should have a healthcare plan and an estate legacy plan. So step 1, do a deep dive and cover all of those bases. Maybe even get a written plan on all 5 of those pillars. Figure out where you're at with those. Step 2, we want to identify, separate, and then calculate our wants versus our needs when it comes to how much money it's going to take. Okay, so when it comes to your needs, those are easy hitters, usually easy to calculate: food, fuel, housing, clothing, electricity, heat, propane, property taxes. So you can usually knock those out pretty quickly. And then you get into more of your lifestyle calculations. Okay, when I go out to eat, where do I want to go out to eat? If I go on vacation, how do I want to travel? How do I want a vacation? And start calculating some of your bucket list items and figure out what you really want. Okay, and when you separate the needs from the wants, now you have a good idea of what your base income has to be just to cover your needs. And then what you might have to do at age 50 starting, okay, to get those wants done in an efficient and safe way. And then step 3, it would be really cool if you could identify your future withdrawal rate. This is a big fear that people have when they enter or are getting close to retirement. Am I going to run out of money? Well, I don't know. I mean, that's why we had to get all this detailed dive into your plan, because then we can better ascertain what kind of withdrawal rate you might need. And so to figure out your withdrawal rate, you can kind of double back and you can say, okay, let's start with my contractual lifetime income. This will typically be Social Security, pensions maybe. Maybe you have an income annuity with a guaranteed lifetime withdrawal benefit or an income rider. Okay, so these are contractual incomes and you can calculate those. And then you go back and you calculate your spending. So in your spending, you want to make sure that you figure out how much you're going to go to taxes, how much are you going to give, how much are you going to save of that cash flow, what are your needs and what are your wants. And at the end of it, that's going to basically tell you how much you have to pull from your portfolio. So when you calculate your annual gross distributions from your IRA, Roth, so forth, divide that by your total portfolio, that gives you your withdrawal rate. And if you can identify your withdrawal rate, you can circle all the way back to step 1 to figure out if you need to make changes in your risk, if you need to make changes in your tax planning, if you need to make changes in how much you're saving in your 401k. At age 50, you get what's called catch-up provisions in both your 401k, Roth 401k, and Roth IRAs. And they let you save more as you prepare. And so if you're sitting there and you're like, wow, I don't know if I've done a deep dive into the details of my plan, that's why we're here. We have a team of advisors that love to teach. They love to help people figure out where they're good and where they need to have some attention on their planning. And that could be everything from estate planning to healthcare planning, income planning, risk mitigation strategies. It's a wonderful job and mission that we get to serve each and every day. And so please feel free to reach out to us anytime. I hope you have a great day and you found this helpful.
Every success story starts with a plan. If you are nearing retirement or already retired, we invite you to an informative live event to help you plan to retire well. Our presentation will address pressing questions such as, how will the presidential election impact my investments? What can I do to protect against inflation in retirement? Am I tax diversified? How can I maximize my Social Security benefits? Will my assets be properly protected when I pass away? And much more. Call 888-608-5825 or register online and choose the date and location that works best for you. The live event starts at 6:30 p.m. and is free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow. But seating is limited and tends to fill quickly. Call 888-608-5825 or register online to reserve your seats today. Don't miss this important live event to help you plan to retire well.
Social Security benefits often make up a large portion of a retiree's income. Especially since pensions have really gone by the wayside, we've seen more and more Americans lean more heavily on Social Security. In fact, a recent study has been done and found that next to your house, the average American has more assets with Social Security than anything else other than that house. So unfortunately though, the Social Security Administration has admitted that they're not perfect and they've made a lot of improper payments. In fact, in 2022, there was $13.6 billion in improper payments paid out to various Social Security benefits. Now, not all of those were underpayments. There's more overpayments, amounted to about $11 billion in overpayments. And you might be thinking, well, that's not really a bad thing. I'll take the extra money. But Social Security, they don't want to pay you more than they have to, right? So they're going to dig into that. And if or when they figure that out, you'll get a nice little letter in the mail saying, sorry, we overpaid you. We want that money back. And you will have to pay that back. But what's more worrisome in my mind is of that $13.6 billion in improper payments, $2.6 billion roughly was in underpayments. And really, the Social Security Administration has no incentive, if you will, to rectify that or keep track of that, right? That falls on you, okay? You have to make sure that you're getting paid what you should be getting paid for your Social Security benefit. And the best way to do that is to make sure your Social Security earnings record is accurate. Okay, so the Social Security earnings record, basically what that is a list of all the earned income that you've had your entire working life. Okay, Social Security uses that to determine what your monthly benefit is going to be. And they look at the top 35 highest earning years. Okay, to find that earnings record, they used to send it out every year on that annual statement that you get from Social Security office. And on that statement, it would say, hey, these are your benefits at your given age and so forth. And then it would list that earnings record. Nowadays, with everything going digital, it's all online. So you just go to ssa.gov. You have to create your login and so forth and go through that process. But once that's all set up, you can access that earnings record whenever you would like. Okay. Now, it's very important to make sure you go through that earnings record year by year and see if there's any mistakes in that. Okay. Let's say, for an example, you're going through that record and you see in the middle of your career a 0 earning year. And you're like, well, I didn't have no income in that year. That was my prime working years. Well, it's probably just a mistake, but it can be easily corrected. Okay. To correct it, obviously you have to have some proof, okay? So you have to go back and find the W-2 or 1099 or whatnot from that given year that shows as a 0 so that you have that proof to show to the Social Security Administration. And then once you have the proof, you just call up the Social Security office and you can either maybe solve it over the phone. Oftentimes you'll have to go in, schedule an in-person meeting and get that all squared away. But it is very, very important to do that. It does take somewhere between 10 to 90 days to get that all corrected, depending on the backlog at the Social Security Administration and so forth. But they have stated that an erroneous 0 income year can affect your benefits by potentially $100 a month on your Social Security. So something you really don't want to ignore. And I always recommend for my clients, just check on it on an annual basis. Make sure that what's getting reported to the Social Security Administration is actually accurate. Now, okay, you figured out how to make sure and check your benefits, but the real question is always about, well, when should I take Social Security, right? Well, here at Centennial Wealth Advisory, not only do we do investment planning, we also do estate planning, tax planning, and income planning. And part of income planning is helping you navigate the Social Security landscape. So we can help you determine, okay, should I take Social Security at age 62, wait till full retirement age, somewhere between 66 and 67, or push it off till age 70? These are all questions that we can answer for you. Please don't hesitate to give the number on the screen a call. Reach out for a free, no obligation consultation to talk not just about investment planning, but the whole retirement planning landscape. We can help you plan to retire well.
If you are nearing retirement or already retired, we invite you to an informative live event to help you plan to retire well. Call 888-608-5825 or register online and choose the date and location that works best for you. The live event starts at 6:30 p.m. and is free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow. But seating is limited and tends to fill quickly. Call 888-608-5825 or register online to reserve your seats today.
So the Father Fred Foundation has been around for 35 years, meeting the essential needs of people in our community with basics like food, clothing, and financial assistance to help keep utilities on, or rent, or things like that. Today we're doing something very special that has really grown over the past few years, called the Back to School Shoe Program. We're making sure that kids are ready to return to school this fall with brand new shoes and socks, school supplies, backpacks, and we are even doing vision screenings and ordering prescription glasses for those kids who need them. This is so much more than partnerships and new shoes, but it's also kids showing up to school ready to learn with confidence, being able to see the instruction, and really feeling good about themselves and having a nice solid pair of shoes on their feet. We received lots of grants this year from multiple different partners just to cover some of our costs. Just wanted to mention Golden Shoes and our partnership with New Balance really makes these shoes go a long way for each kiddo in the region. And of course our volunteers, we couldn't do this work without our volunteers. That's the labor behind all of this. We have these great ideas and then we have just wonderful volunteers that actually executes it and works one-on-one with families. So we serve the 5-county region. We just started doing the 5-county region in about the last 3 or 4 years. Prior to that, we were doing Grand Traverse County because that's kind of the big hub. But what we recognized is some of those outer counties, those people just can't make it to us. We're a 45-minute drive, and with the cost of gas, things like that. So we decided to take it on the road. We've been doing that for 4 years now. Prior to that, they were doing it about 15 or 20 years, where they were doing it right here on site. So last week we hit all of those outer counties. We took our truck, we loaded it, we set up shop for the day, we started it over the very next day. And this week it's all in Grand Traverse County, serving, of course, more people because more people live here. And it's just, it's a pretty great event. These families are so grateful.
We come up every year to join with Father Fred during their back to school drive. We absolutely love this partnership. What Father Fred does, the hours that they spend putting this event together to be able to provide shoes to the community and back to school book bags and supplies is amazing. And we add to that by being able to come up and screen the children for their vision. And if these children fail, we're able to see them on clinic. We have a doctor, we have the optician, and we're able to do a full eye exam, let the children pick out their glasses, and then we ship them their glasses within 2 to 3 weeks after their exam is done. So they get the whole process during this one event, and they don't have to go anywhere else. If they have any problems, we definitely refer them out to another eye doctor to make sure that that's continued to be followed up with. It is truly an event that I am very passionate about, and the people that are working so hard to keep this event going and growing really put their blood, sweat, and tears into it.
A couple of our partner organizations have really just stepped up and done so much. Not only do our partners do fundraising for us or collect items for us, but we've got a great partnership with Centennial Wealth. They've done so much for us in the past. Last year they joined forces with us and served each one of those kiddos. This year they're back. And I'm telling you what, their sleeves are rolled up, they're on their knees, they're helping every kid that needs a new pair of shoes. I want to always mention the community, because without the community support, we're a private nonprofit organization that truly is grassroots. We don't receive government funding of any sort. So, I just ask that the community continues to think about us when they're looking for places to support.
Hello, my name is Virgil, and on today's segment we are going to discuss spooky retirement mistakes to avoid. Of course, this is in honor of the Halloween holiday. So the first of these we're going to discuss today is not working with a trusted financial advisor. So when you think about your retirement, you need a plan, and you need to understand how you're going to avoid some of the common mistakes other people have made who've went before you. And working with a trusted financial advisor, benefit there is they've worked with hundreds, if not thousands of clients. They've seen a lot of mistakes that others have made, and they can help you avoid those. The current financial situation you're in and your future retirement plans are way too important to consider this a do-it-yourself experiment. Your future security, both for you, but also for your family. Very, very important, and something that we recommend you seek help with and not try to go it alone. If you think about some of the greatest athletes, business people in history, really, most of them have had coaches or mentors. If you think about the Chicago Bulls in the 90s, you had Michael Jordan. Now here is one of the greatest, if not the greatest, basketball player to ever live. But he had a coach. He had Phil Jackson, often referred to as the Zen Master, as his coach to help him even be better than he was trying to go it alone. The second thing I would say is when you think about your retirement, a spooky retirement mistake to avoid is not being confident where your income is going to come from during your retirement. So when you retire, obviously, you're no longer receiving that salary or paycheck from an employer. So you're responsible for providing yourself with an income to provide for not only yourself, but for your family. If you think about it, if you're retired for 30 years, that's basically a 1,565 week long vacation. It's a lot of time to plan for income. And so you need to understand and be confident where that income is going to come from during your retirement. Common areas are obviously Social Security. You could get some income from your investments, whether it's an old work retirement plan, an IRA, or a brokerage account. You may also have income from other sources, so that could be rental property. Some people have part-time jobs in retirement, so maybe that's something you have as well. But it's very important that you understand where the income is going to come from, and also, of course, have a good handle on your expenses in retirement. So really, as you're thinking about your income, how much income are you going to actually need? What are your expenses going to look like? Will that change? Also, with regards to income, people worry about inflation. What's the purchasing power of my income going to be in the future? So these are all things you need to think about, and mistakes we see people make is they don't have a good handle on this. They're not confident of where this income is going to come from, and also how much they're really going to need with regards to their expenses. The third area, I think, of a spooky mistake to try to avoid with regards to your retirement planning is the lack of an exit strategy for your family. So when something happens to you, you want to have a good plan in place that they're going to be well taken care of. There was an AARP survey that had some interesting results. It said 55% of Americans die without an estate plan. That means over half of Americans are dying without any kind of an estate plan. It said 72% of those surveyed did not have an up-to-date will or estate plan. And 35% have experienced or know someone who has experienced family conflict when no estate plan was in place. These are spooky to me. Hopefully they are to you as well. I know we're having a little bit of fun with this segment with regards to the Halloween holiday, but these are serious things to think about to protect not only you, but your family's future. So when it comes to the estate planning piece, it's very wise. Obviously, if you don't have a plan, you need to get something in place for the future that matches the wishes that you have for your family when something does happen to you. Even if you do have one, you want to have that reviewed. These are all things that can be heavy and stressful to think about and try to do it yourself. Like I said, you don't want to try to do this yourself, and you should try to work with a trusted financial advisor. We would be happy to sit down with you for a no cost, no obligation meeting here at Centennial Wealth Advisory. You can follow the instructions on the screen, and like I said, we'd be more than happy to meet with you so that we can help you plan to retire well.
If you're retired or approaching retirement in the next 5 to 10 years, join us for an informative live event. This event is all about you, the challenges you face, and the information you need to help you build the future that you want. There's no pressure to become a client. Our goal is to simply give you valuable information that you can use to make smarter financial decisions. We hope that by the time you leave this event, you'll be one step closer to your retirement goals.
Let's spend a little bit of time and talk about the presidential candidate's stance on taxes. For many of us here, paying taxes can become a pain, but it's expected every year when we file that tax return to settle up with old Uncle Sam and turn in those taxes. Sometimes maybe we've overpaid a little bit and we get a little refund back, and sometimes we got to write an additional check to the IRS to pay in some additional funds that are owed. So when we look at this, it's been widely talked about. Every presidential election, for the most part, taxes come up there, right? One candidate is going to have one view, the other candidate is likely going to have a different view or something else added in there to make it attractive for their voters or potential voters. This year is no different from that. And a lot of the discussion from both candidates is going to be revolving around the Tax Cut and Job Act of 27 that was signed into law January of 2018. So back in 2017, when President Trump at that time put this into law at the beginning, effective January 1st of 2018, it overhauled the tax system. It was really the biggest, or really the most significant change to our tax code in about 3 decades. Well, many of those changes are set to expire here in 2025. So the presidential candidates are talking about that a lot, because when that expires, there's many of these for individual taxpayers who will fall back to some different things. Different tax brackets. The standard deduction is going to look a little different if this sets to expire. So both candidates are talking about that in their kind of campaigns. I want to kind of start with this, though, to remember when the presidential candidates are talking about taxes and talking about these different ideas that they have, that's what they are. They're ideas, they're proposals to you as voters to something that you may be interested. Remember, it doesn't mean on day one that that's automatically going to be signed into law. There's a big difference between proposals and policies, so it has to get pushed through. So some of these changes doesn't mean that they're always going to go into place, but you can kind of get to see where each candidate is leaning towards. So first, let's look at presidential candidate Harris. She talks about, really putting some of these Trump-era tax cuts and Job Act pieces in place long term. She's talking about extending some of these things, not completely getting rid of it. There's some changes in there when she talks about that, but many of these for different individuals, and talks about if families earning up to $400,000 of income, staying the case. She wants, though, to increase corporate taxes. So going from the current market about 21%, she'd like to see that go up to about 28% for corporations. So that would be a change from the current situation now. Also, raising capital gains taxes. So selling stuff at a gain and having those different capital gains, that's something that's been pitched as well to making that change. $10,000 credit for first-time home buyers. Another piece there of if you're getting into that thing. Child tax credit. Bumping that first one up for a newborn child up to $6,000 is something else. There's also, she has an initiative out there to have 25 million new business applications during her first term if elected. To spur that, she's pitching a $50,000 tax credit for new businesses that can be used, kind of spread out, or used when the business becomes profitable. So a little bit more to that one, but that's a potential for new business startups. So also recently, she's also included that wants to end taxation on tips for workers that have their source of income through tips. Now, a key piece when both candidates talk about this, the one thing to take away from that is the idea that they're still subject to some payroll taxes. Candidate Trump wants to extend, of course, his tax laws and makes those permanent with his tax law and jobs cut. He'd like to even see corporate taxes go down now to 15% and have no federal income tax on tips, and also one on no federal income tax on Social Security for retirees. So a little different there. Again, the tips would still be subject to many of the payroll taxes, but no federal income tax. So you can see here, both candidates have different plans, but a lot of it revolves around that expiring Tax Cut and Jobs Act back in 2018 when that started. So keep in mind, listen to this. I'm sure it will change throughout the conversations, but it's going to continue to be a hot topic because taxes are a huge piece of our life and can financially cause challenges in any time, especially when we have inflationary periods.